Hey, Steve Zonard here with Mike Gaddy, and we got a special guest today, Luca Quintieri from Ultimate Mortgage. Just the backstory, actually, Luca's is Anthony Quintieri's son, which is Anthony we've been working with in the last 10 to 12 years since I've been at Remax. And now Luca's come on board after you've done a whole I know your dad, an amazing guy. Love that man. He's like, we used to have these amazing rants about, the future of everything, and also like how to better like the process with our clients, stuff like that. But backstory with yourself, I remember your dad always saying that Luca's coming on board, but he needs to understand like the inside of these big banks, and why he wanted you to go to these big banks is when you bring that process, you can bring that process back to the company, to the family business, and like process it. You understand what the underwriters are going to be looking for and all this stuff. He was like, Anthony was smart, right? He's like strategic. So he sent you on the inside. You're like an inside agent.
Man, right?
Yeah. So tell me more about that. I'm just curious.
Yeah. So just prior to joining the broker side, I did about 12 years on the lender side, both A and B banks. What that really was is just to get an understanding on how the gears turn internally, right? How applications are processed from straight applications from the broker community, documentation, underwriting, documentation, review, and straight to funding. So the leg up that I think I have would be understanding the processes within, obviously. So mortgage applications from underwriting. So I did mortgage officer. I actually started in a call center taking mortgage calls.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So just being young in the household,
really
hearing
from the bottom.
Being young, hearing mortgage conversation from my old man in working from home. Back in the day, it's just, once I went in there and I just started at the bottom of the call center, taking mortgage calls, really understand the operations of that. Then I was quickly promoted to mortgage officer, where you do your documentation review. So reviewing bank statements, appraisals, income documents, job letters, pay stubs. So you really get an idea on what you need to look for things like that. Fraud prevention is huge. Having this experience from the mortgage officer standpoint, fraud prevention is huge. Like for me, I tell everybody who I work with, like if you don't even have to fill out an application with me, obviously standard processes when taking a mortgage application now, but I could ask you for 6 months bank statements, and I can dissect that and really understand how the cash flow is going, what everything really looks like, right? And what I can anticipate with credit. From there, I moved up to mortgage underwriter. Then I got promoted to senior mortgage underwriter, trained teams as a team lead. And then from there, I moved over to the sales side. So I was business development manager. I managed 2,000 mortgage brokers across Canada. I launched out in the East Coast for a alternative lender. Launched a corporate account for the alternative lender as well. And then at that point, I felt like, I was ready. I was ready at that point. You hit that plateau and you're like, it's the same thing over and over again, right? So put my hands up, started fresh, moved over to the broker side, and was able to hit the ground running. I run a team of agents now under Ultimate Mortgage Group. And just been very successful for me so far.
I mean, the last time I checked in with your dad, you guys, I forgot the amount. I think it was 80. I know this was before everything here with COVID and all this stuff. What are you guys at now with agents?
We're at about 120, 125 agents.
Yeah, I was going to go reverse. Good for you. Yeah, so I mean, you guys are aggressively, building. And the good thing is, like, you've gone in now to the family business, so whatever you're earning, it's basically staying in house kind of thing.
Absolutely,
too.
absolutely.
I'm glad to have you on board, buddy.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So we'll just kind of move on. I just want to introduce Luca. Just kind of give you our like, again, we're trying to build a team on everything we do to make sure that our processing is the best, and we're always picking the best people to be with, and this is why we're always working with Ultimate Mortgage. I just wanted, like, even your experience. I mean, you guys did the last deal.
Yeah.
How did that go?
It's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. So clients approach.
The process,
Clients are a referral from another client that I helped with in the community. They approached me looking to purchase a property, currently renting right now. So I immediately, underwrote the file, determined what their max purchase price was, and immediately refer them over to Mike for assistance. And Mike was
hammered down.
Hammering.
Well, it came in with good backing, right? We knew exactly where we can be for price.
Exactly.
Price point where we needed to massage a little bit and whatnot. So we knew exactly what we were targeting, right? So we're looking for bungalows in a couple areas, and from bungalows, then we realized we need a little bit more space. We went to go visit that a couple 2 stories. Didn't work for them just because of all the stairs and whatnot. So we brought them back to the bungalow. And funny thing is, the first house we saw, then we saw another 15 or 20, and then we went back to the first to buy it. So
It's a process of elimination, not selection.
We checked off every box to make sure
yeah.
that the client.
Yeah, they're
was
extremely
getting what they
happy. I
needed.
appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thanks for helping us out too, right? So,
Yeah.
no, it was a good experience. It was not the first time we've done that.
No, we've
too,
done quite a
but-
few together already, yeah, and everything's smooth process. Like Mike and I, we have a really smooth process we've developed, right? Right when I do the numbers, immediate communication. Mike and I are chatting quite often, right? And I think that's important for our clients, is to ensure that communication is there, so there's no downtime. They understand every step of the way from the real estate purchase side to the mortgage application side, and just even right when a file is approved, I let Mike know. Right when an appraisal is in, I let Mike know. Right when the file is funded, I let Mike know. So at the same time, so everybody's gonna play their part in the transaction.
I think that's what buyers are expecting. Buyers and sellers are expecting from us, is to have this actual like professional team in the back end. Like if you're watching a professional sports team, you want to see the plays being made. You know, different plays, different situations, and it's nice that you guys have that.
It's like
operation
in hockey, the forwards are communicating with
the
D.
defense.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
right.
yeah.
It's not two separate teams; they're both on the same
It's
team.
just good chemistry all around.
Yeah, it's hard sometimes when you're dealing with mortgage agents. You don't know that if your client brings them in, because a lot of people get pre-qualified at banks, stuff like that. It becomes a nightmare dealing directly with the bank, to be honest. Like from my experience, even my personal experience, where we've assumed loans on investment properties, and it's dealing with the bank direct is a disaster.
Yeah,
you're talking like it's almost like they're it's the first time they're doing it. It's almost like you got to help them through the process, because they're doing so many other things rather than just doing mortgages all day, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's just no checklist. It's just random paperwork all the time, and it's the day of the closing, you're not even confident that it's going to close. That's just reality. I'm talking big banks too. It's not even like, you know, B banks and stuff like that. A lot of
the
these,
uncertainty,
because they're not. If they're doing lines of credits, and they're doing like savings accounts all day, like a lot of the people in the banks, like some of them have their own brokerage section. But if you're dealing with the branch manager or something like that, it becomes a nightmare. You know?
I get that all the time. I get clients calling me saying, "Oh, I've been pre-approved for this at the bank," and then they send me the file. I review everything. I'm like, we're almost there, but we're not right there. And that's a clear indication that would be a purchase file that would get to a week before closing. And it's like, sorry guys, this is not working out.
And it won't close.
Right? And it won't close. At the same time, you've got to understand, like, are these, you know, not to knock the banks in it, because I work with them and they're fantastic through the broker channel. And I don't know too much of the experience from the client to direct branch level, but I do courses, and I get a license for a reason, right? To understand everything thoroughly. Like my license is at the highest level, being a mortgage broker. So I think, you know, putting that trust into that type of profession is important.
But you
rather
also
than going into the branch and filling out an application
100%.
and then that going to head office for underwriting.
But you also did the whole process. You learned the whole like lineage of like how a file should be looked at and what's going to get passed or not passed.
Absolutely.
So when you're dealing with buyers now that call you, they're not just dealing with Joe Schmoll that got his mortgage broker license. You're dealing with somebody that actually can qualify this loan. By just looking at it, you kind of understand what the process is, where everything's. That's like a professional. That's like having a black belt in jiu-jitsu, you know what I'm saying, instead of like a white belt.
Especially in a market like that.
Oh,
absolutely.
Shit.
And the great thing that what I do, learning from the inside, especially from the funding point, is if I'm working on something and I know this could be a challenge closer to their funding date, what can they anticipate on the lawyer side? You know, there's things like undertakings for certain debts that they might not be able to pay out right away, that a lawyer could get an undertaking for 30 days to pay that debt. There's things called statutory declarations, right? For example, I had a client recently who was gone through a separation, and there wasn't really anything in writing or witness notarized or anything like that. So I let them know, hey, in this case, what they'll want is statutory declaration to confirm no support payments, right? Some lenders, some banks are okay with that, some are not. But that gives me the opportunity to find that way around the situation and make sure that it's suitable for the client and the lender at the same time, right? So it's just very important to understand how's the back end work, especially from a legal standpoint. And I talk to a lot of lawyers, and I pick their brain on a lot of things. And when we communicate, they're like, sounds like you already know like what we do on our end, right? Not to the point where I can go and
stamp it or whatever.
Write my bar. I'm not saying that at all, but you know, from a mortgage application standpoint, like I have that ability to foresee things that we can encounter from a lawyer's perspective, right? So
yeah, it's tough. Even like talking about lawyers, just touching that base. Like, so a lot of the times, like we've been swapping around lawyers the last little bit. Now it's just like you're not confident there either. A lot of stuff gets missed even on closing, and you get a call. Like I got a call now, just property. I'll talk about my personal experience. Is a property that we sold, an investment property in 22. They said we didn't pay the taxes. How did they close the deal and the property taxes were not paid?
Yeah.
Why do I gotta pay that now?
Yeah.
Why? Who missed that?
Yeah.
It's not me. I was willing to pay. You had the proceeds of the sale. You could have subtracted or whatever you had to do, prorate it. But now, like, you're gonna come out, 2.5 years later and look for fucking $5,000. Like, is that my responsibility?
Right.
But it's not the first time. I'll just, like sometimes with clients and stuff, this is where we kind of advise them going into a situation, like, even with lawyers and stuff like that. It's just like, nothing's perfect. Like, we got to make sure that we're on top of it. Like you're saying now, you got to know the process. Make sure they're asking a lot of questions, even if it's not, now we're, doing some stuff in Florida now, building properties and stuff like that. I told Mike early on, like, even though we have a construction background and the whole thing, I'm like, I'm gonna play dumb. Everything is this done? How's this tied?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go through it because what happens is when you get too much confidence in let's say this person to get it done and it's something like that, it's usually not. And not saying you're fucking amazing. I'm saying like a lot of the people and like we're dealing with just keep asking questions, even if they sound dumb. Obviously, don't be annoying, but keep it going, right?
I always tell my clients. I always tell them, do you
Yeah.
have any questions? Because if you don't have any questions, that means I'm doing a fantastic job,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And I said by the time we end this call, I want to ensure that I answer all your questions. You understand everything.
Yeah.
Right. Like I got clients that are based on where we are right now in this economy that they're struggling, utilizing unsecured debt like you wouldn't believe, and they've come to the point
Where's
now
that,
where
like lines of credits and
unsecured lines of credits, credit cards, anything like that can get them by.
Higher
But it
interest
catches
too.
up to you because there's a limit to that, right?
So what they're doing, they're using one card to play the another card.
In
Or-
that sometimes that case,
refinance.
or if they're in the middle of waiting for, if they're an hourly employee and they're waiting for that pay date to come through and they're just a couple of days late on making a payment, they'll
Put it on the visa.
put it on the visa, not have enough for the next payment to come out. So and this is because of where we are today. High interest rates, gas prices, grocery prices. People are really suffering
Inflation.
right now, right? So we got to find a way to help them.
Mm-hmm.
So when I talk to a client who's in really need of some sort of relief, I ensure that they understand every step of the
But what
way.
do you do for relief? Like, what can you offer them?
There's quite a few things. Like I worked with a client. I'll go to one I can think of right now on top of my head. In 2022, she came to me behind on some mortgage payments. She was strapped, sending a child to school, had to pay the tuition, and just got herself into a slight jam. Nothing crazy. It was enough of a situation where I had to bring her to an alternative lender. And I asked her to trust the process and trust in me to ensure that we're going to get back on track, right? As much as I preach to my clients, they need to also help themselves, right?
Of course.
So I give them every tool possible in the tool shed that I have for them to be successful and what they need to do. I even refer them to any financial advisors to help set a budget plan for the next 12 months. So I put this client on a 12-month term with an alternative lender with the intent at the 12 months mark, we would refinance her and bring her back to the bank if she satisfied these specific things, like, keep working, keep doing what you're doing everything great. Try not to utilize unsecured credit, right? When I got her the mortgage from the alternative lender, I got her a little bit of a cash out to kind of keep her afloat as well, so she wouldn't have to leverage that unsecured debt, right? At the end of the 12 months, she came back to me, and I got her back, and I got her approval at TD Bank, right? Because for her at that time, that was the best product for her. There was a cashback component to it, and it worked out for rate at that time. So I have quite a few of those that I've also sent to our other banks, right? So I try to spread business across the board, right, to everybody, because and if I'm utilizing one bank or one lender, that product might not be suitable for the client, right? That's for another reason as to why I spread out as much as I can. So that's a perfect example where I was able to help her out. She's back she actually left me a Google review. It's on my Google review saying that she said that she was losing hope.
Wow.
Because of what's going on. And we were able to save her and put her back on track.
What do you see now with the debt ratio?
I'm seeing a ton.
TDS
I'm seeing a ton of unsecured debt. I'm seeing a ton of ratio exceptions.
Like what percentage?
Pushing 52%.
Oh. Wow.
Pushing 52%. And in a normality, let's say before this economic disaster that we're currly in, you'd see your ratios at 44%. Your TDS, your total debt service, would be at 44%. A lot of my bank clients now are pushing that at that 51 to 52%. Thankfully, there is some liquid assets there to compensate, to mitigate the risks associated with the file, and to get that exception from our lender partners. But that's what I'm seeing right now.
It's crazy. It's almost like a slow bleed until like whatever you have, like you said, there's some liquid assets to kind of hold it together.
Yeah.
But it's basically it's a theft in a sense where like how are they going to get back that liquid in the future?
Yeah.
Like they'll be able to afford their payments currently right now, but again, their payments. A lot of this is interest only, principal minimum, and they're tapping into like liquid assets, which basically takes them into zero. You know how hard it is to save $100,000.
Yeah.
Even the money we kind of we have access. Mind you, we don't make the kind of money that people think we make because it's in one door and out the other door.
Course,
but I mean, it's like, try to put together $100,000. It's insane.
Yeah.
And again, is that our lifestyles? Obviously, inflation clearly is like an all-time high, and then we have this massive, like lifestyle. And this, not say massive, but we have a lifestyle. We expect things and shit like that. So it's like,
I think life just got expensive in general. Like before, we would be happy with basic things. Now every kid has a cell phone. That has a cell phone bill, data, and all that kind of stuff that just adds on to our cost of living, just naturally being more expensive.
It's the game that they call keeping up with the Joneses, right?
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's monkey see, monkey do.
Well,
And
I
we
think
can't put a limit on that sometimes.
I think it's just like staying alive with the Joneses.
Yeah.
Before it was like, I bought a Benz. Now it's like staying alive. It's like, you start, as you get older too, you start to realize like life is not as, like again, like cars, we flip them out so soon and stuff like that. Like, who gives a shit? Like at the end, like now that a few cars that we have now, like they're all paid for. It's like I'm gonna hold on to them. I'm gonna milk them for 5 to 8 years, 10 years, whatever it is. Like, what are we doing now? Like, this is mental. I think we got to get back to the basics of like how our parents kind of did things too, and kind of allocate money more into like working.
I think I think what we're experiencing right now in the economy and how people are trying to get by right now, I think that will come. I'm optimistic that will come. Not to the extent where our parents used to do it, but I think things will level up.
Be more conservative.
You have to, because now it's a wake-up call, right? What happened when the interest rates shot up the roof? Everybody's living lavish lives, and everything shot up the roof. You can't keep up.
Yeah.
Everything plummets. So I think that might have been a wake-up call for some who were living that life. But you hope. I'm going to remain optimistic about it, right? It's all education. It's all communication. It's podcasts like this that we do. We're just going to help people, right?
I think some people get it, but I think a lot of people, it's almost like a high they were on, like that. So there's 100%. Like sniffing cocaine for like 2 years, and it's like now there's no more cocaine. But it's an opportunity. It's like cocaine. Like I've never done any hard substance, but I'm just saying, like, so now they see this, this endorphin hit again. They're gonna go for it. I think they go for it even harder, just to kind of catch up within 2 years.
I hope not.
I hope not either. knowing people and how like a lot of weaknesses and stuff like that. With like, I think some people will get it clearly if they're being punished right now. But a lot of people we started to notice too, like conversations we're having, because obviously we have offices both sides of the border. That they're downsizing. They don't give a shit. They just want to live. And a lot of clients that we sold houses this year. That same thing. I don't really need this house anymore. I'll sell it. Look at how take off 1,000 square feet off the house, put a couple $100,000 away, and live happier and stuff like that, and then reallocate the money to some sort of investment, which is great. So now it's like money working for money. Because even in my house there now, it's like, when are you getting the pool? When are you getting the pool? I'm like, I don't need it. Like, if it's going to cost me almost $200,000 US to do a pool, I'm going to put that money into what we're doing now, the development. You know what I mean? I'd rather have money working for money.
Absolutely.
Like, I think we have to go back into that strategy. It's like, we can't have everything now. It's like, we got to be able to, have a little bit of thick skin and say, okay, well, we're going to get this, but not at this exact moment. It's almost like a kid. You can't always gratify them with new things all the time. You got to kind of like play with that thing till the wheels fall off.
Yeah.
Hey guys, thanks for watching another episode of Real Estate on Record. Luca, where can they find you to follow you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Luca_YourUltimateMortgage.
Perfect. And we know where we can find
find us, yeah. And he's actually a pretty damn good golfer too, so.
I tried.
Awesome.
Ciao.